But Billy Quarantillo is taking on Action Jackson, Damon Jackson, an awesome fight at 145. And the craziest part about this fight is for Billy Q, his last time out, he gets hit by a short shot, hit by the knee, and it's all over. Edson Barboza finishes him. That was in April. It was not long ago. It was about 4 months ago. Damon Jackson, everybody and their dog had Damon Jackson to the tune of, what was it here? It was a very large percentage nonetheless. Damon Jackson was favored his last time out to get the win, and he didn't get the win. He didn't get it done whatsoever. He lost to Dan Ige, second round knockout loss, and that was Ige falling from the rankings, taking on a guy just on the fringes. Damon Jackson fighting up. He had that awesome front kick to then TKO win against Pat Sabatini, his fight before. And if you look at it for Billy Q, he's kind of had his ups and downs, but both of these guys with some bonuses in the UFC. Billy Q with that crazy fight of the night against Mowgli Benitez, where they both get dropped, but it's Billy having the last laugh. He's got a performance bonus as well. And if you do consider it for Billy, when he's on, he's on. I mean, look at his rally against Cam Wallach-Kirk on Dana White's Contender Series. That really did light the fire. Billy's 5-3 in the UFC. He's 3-3 in his last 6. However, it's going to be really interesting to see how he manages against some of these guys, because these two guys, even though they both lost their last fight, it was convincingly. It was in the first round. It was by knockout. Well, I guess Damon Jackson was the second round, but you catch my drift here. Both pretty bad losses. They have a good opportunity to rebound really, really close to the rankings. And you have a lot of fighters in this category at 145. You have Charles Jourdain that's kind of hanging around. Nathaniel Wood, who got the win over Andre Fili. I mean, there's a lot of guys. Like, I always think of Bill Algeo, Joe Anderson Brito. This division is absolutely stacked. So one of these guys needs a good opportunity to get a win. Now, if you consider it the All-American, and he was out of, Missouri Valley College in wrestling, that's Damon Jackson. Does he have the pedigree of a jiu-jitsu black belt like Billy Q? No. But in MMA, you see all those submission wins for Action Jackson. So we can bring him up right here. You see it. 15 submission wins for Jackson. He's got that really long, rangy style, but at the same time, he likes to fight in a phone booth and he doesn't use the range. So it really is a trick on the mind where Jackson utilizes his kicks to establish a little bit of the range. But he's one of those guys that he'll throw the punch out and he'll shell up and, we'll get into a phone booth and he really can't rip back. So I'll be interested to see who's able to get it done from the standing positions. And with Billy Q, you look at his performance bonus just a few fights ago. Hernandez drops down from 155 to 145. Billy looks like the best version we've ever seen. And then Billy's favored to get the win against Edson Barboza. So a very interesting fight there. Tyson over in the chat saying Edson timed that so well, he didn't even need to look down to see if the knee was going to connect. Night Force, Billy TKO or Jackson by sub. Raw Torque saying Billy Q with the thumbs up. But I'd like to get an idea from you guys, like how you see this one going, because it really is a tough one at the end of the day. So this is where we'll get a little bit squirrely. Matt on this one is going with Billy Q to get the win in the fight. I think it can be, this could be a fight of the night if it does last, like Billy Q was against Gabriel Benitez. You look at the fight that he had against Gavin Tucker, and he was just outmatched that one. Tucker had it with the boxing. Tucker had it with the grappling. That was the best version of Gavin Tucker, other than the Sam Cecilia fight that we've seen in the UFC, and I reference that as a little bit of a nugget for later on, the return of Gavin Tucker against Diego Lopes. Damon Jackson was on that crazy win streak. His performance bonus in the return to the UFC after a stint, he was with the LFA, with the PFL, so on and so forth. Jackson gets taken down. Huge comeback win against Mirsad Bektic. Billy Q is favored in the matchup over on Tapology. 810 total votes, 72% Quarantillo, 61% by knockout. For the 28% that have Jackson, 52% by decision, 21% by submission. For me, this really is a tricky fight. I do like the volume out of a guy in Billy Quarantillo in a matchup like this, but Billy Q, I mean, the striking defense isn't necessarily the best. 7.86 significant strikes landed per minute in the 8 fights that Billy Q's had in the UFC to 5.79 absorbed per minute. But he has a 40% strike defense and he has a 58% takedown defense. So not the best if you do consider it. And for Action Jackson, I mean, the last 2 losses being Dan Ige and Ilya Topuria, those 2 guys are top flight competition. But what do they do to get the win? They were able to back up, move around on the feet, and utilize really good boxing. So we'll see how both these two guys can make out. Jackson, too, you look at some of the rallies that he's had throughout his career. I think of his wild fight against Charles Rosa. That was an awesome one. The Dan Argueta fight was just a battle of attrition where he's able to get the back but wasn't able to get the sub. So this should be a really fun fight while it lasts. But both of us, myself and Matt, going with Billy Q to get the win in the matchup. The next fight that's on the card, Jeremiah Wells taking on Carlston Harris. An awesome fight at 170 between a couple of scrappy veterans. You're not going to want to miss any of it. Keep it locked in with Fight Name Picks. We always say, let's get into it.